I'm here at Startup Fest 2025, and I'm speaking with Josh Little, the founder of Mindfully. Mindfully is a biotech company that actually uses sensors and artificial intelligence to figure out when you're going to relapse with something like smoking or another habit that you want to break. It's actually a combination of putting a sensor on a wearable like glasses and then sending you the right notifications at the right time. We talk about hardware, AI, and trying to get all of this stuff to work. He's still in the early stages, and I may have given him some advice about how to get some market validation and do some testing. So let me know what you think of his company, and let me know what you think of my advice.
So thanks for joining us. Say who you are and what you do with your time.
Okay, so my name is Joshua Little. I am a biomedical engineering student. I'm going into my final year, and I'm working on a company called Mindfully. So we're building at Mindfully a non-invasive wearable device that essentially helps people build and maintain good habits and break bad ones, addictions. And so the reason we're doing this is that, have you ever read Atomic Habits?
I have read it.
So almost everyone's read Atomic Habits. You've gone to therapy, and so you know what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
But in the moment and leading up to the moment, you're just not making the right decisions to ensure that you're getting the right outcome. And so that's when we started to look into why is this happening? And it's untimely support. So that's what we're trying to do. So what we do is we collect brain data using EEG and use it to predict when you're likely to do a certain habit, to say, hey, in an hour from now, you're going to smoke. But if you do these things, we're going to reduce that. And on the flip side, for a good habit, hey, if you do this within the next 5 minutes, you're this much more likely to commit to that new habit. And, we just want people to live their most fulfilling lives. So that's what we're working on.
Cool, man. So a couple questions. First, don't tap on the table. Don't tap on the table because that gets picked up. Sorry. I know, I do the same thing. Okay, so a couple questions, I think. First is, so explain a little bit more about how it's actually working. Like, where's the EEG sensor?
Okay.
And how do you know that I'm going to do bad things?
Okay, so EEG is the closest that we have right now to decision making. But even in itself, it's very difficult to modulate. I don't know if you know about Muse or Emotive. Emotive does a lot of states, so emotional states. And I'd say decision making is a layer after that.
Right.
So how using EEG works is that what you would do is you collect certain waves. So you have beta, alpha, theta, and so on. You'd focus mostly on beta, alpha, and theta. And what you do is that how it works is when people detect a certain range spike in beta wave, it correlates with a likelihood to relapse. And on the flip side, a dip in a certain other wave is saying, okay, lack of motivation to actually commit to a good habit.
Right.
So that's kind of what we're working towards.
So it's like, I'm imagining that for me, it's 100% relapse and zero motivation.
Well,
is that?
Well, we hope not. I mean, but we're
permanent.
trying to,
it's tattooed in my.
Okay. Well, if you know about neuroplasticity, so EEG is around trying to get people to change their behaviors and change those neural pathways, right?
Yeah.
And so you asked us now about where we're placing the EEGs. So I don't know if you've seen the big helmets. They're big, multiple points. But the ones that we're primarily trying to work with is FP1, FP2, and a few of the ones here. So those are prefrontal cortex and the median. Those relate more to cognitive decision, and so decision making, what would relate to habit. And then obviously you usually use one here for grounding. So you ground the entire circuit, use it right here to ground it. So that's along where we're focusing on how we're gonna build out our miniature EEG.
So I guess two questions then. One is, how well, like Muse, for example, I think they was beta waves, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember, but I remember you would relax, and their initial demo was you had a headband, you put on the headband. Like I said, I don't remember where the touch points were.
So,
and then you relaxed and it would
center.
do a thing.
I don't remember what exactly they focus on because they have different models. They have the Muse S, they have the Muse, I don't remember the other one, but Muse focuses on focus.
The point is you had to buy a thing.
Yeah.
You put a thing on your head.
Yeah.
And then
it tracks it. So it's like what's the word I'm looking for? Recentering. Yeah. So you're focusing on something. When your brain wanders, it will drop or increase relatively. And so they're gonna send an alarm. And so that's essentially how Muse works. So that's more of a state, right? For us, it's understanding those states, looking at, all the other studies that say, hey, we collected these people's data prior to a 30-day analysis, and these were their signals throughout the day. And these people who relapsed, this is what their signals look like.
Yeah.
And these people who didn't, this is what.
That was going to be my second later question, which is you've got a bunch of this data. I'm assuming you have or are capturing it. You build an AI model to predict.
So right now, what we're training it on is pre-processed data that, other open source pre-processed data while we're building the hardware.
Oh.
And so that just helps us
that
to
exists.
figure out
That data exists in the world.
like pre-processed data. Yeah, for EEG.
Of the signals that you're looking for.
Yeah, like alpha, all
Like,
these
is it
signals.
like I'm going to go to a, not smoke per se, but I'm going to do a habit, and that data.
Yeah, so
exists.
a lot of it is like this. So it's not exactly this, like not all studies are exactly this inference. So they
Okay.
have been studies specifically for smoking. I think there's a lot
Right.
there. What they do is, because beta waves don't just spike or decrease just for a habit. It's always active. It's
Yeah.
active right now.
Yeah.
So what they're really doing is doing a mass classification. That's like, okay, between this point and this point, it's just regular. But between this maybe 0.5 to 0.7, something is happening here, and we see that correlation with them going to do something. So that's what's out there. And specifically for what we're trying to do, there's not exactly this specific data. The closest we've seen is for nicotine.
Yeah.
And that's where the example where
There's a lot of data on nicotine
there's a lot
studies.
of
For
data
some
on
strange
nicotine.
reason, nobody
Yeah,
knows.
which is strange because I think alcohol is actually
Oh yeah, yeah.
higher.
That's fair. That's fair. I was thinking of other drugs or other
Yeah.
bad habits, but that makes sense.
Because so I know we always say good habits and bad habits, because
Yeah.
the same thing that makes it hard to break a bad habit is the same thing that makes it hard to build a good one. Your reward pathway.
Yeah.
But every time I bring up the technology, everyone's focused on their bad habits,
Yeah.
because everyone's like, man, I have this terrible habit, the smoking. So
Unless you're like, I want to smoke.
Yeah.
So give me that.
Yeah.
So you sticking on the AI. I still want to go back to the how this will manifest itself in reality. But on the
Yeah.
AI side, it's you have enough data to be able to at least start to capture the moment, like know when something bad is going to happen. Do you need to create new data sets yourself for?
Yes.
There's enough there that
Yes.
you can actually.
Well, there's enough to kind of build like a proxy, but
Yeah.
we will still need to collect data, because one of the biggest problems with EEG is that they're not mobile,
yeah.
right? So you go into the clinic, you do like a 30-minute or an hour, then they extrapolate that data and say, okay, there's a lot of
You're
reverse
not like,
engineering.
I want to have a drink now
Yeah.
in the middle of an EEG.
Yeah, so there's a lot of reverse thing, and there's studies that show that when you're aware that you're being
Yeah.
tracked, it actually affects the quality of the data as well.
Yes,
It's like
yes.
the elephant, what's that? Pink elephant. Don't think
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it. It's gonna happen.
That has a name, a scientific name, where you're
Yeah.
like, that it's a confounding factor. There's a
Wha-
name for
yeah,
when you
whatever
know
it
you're being
is.
studied.
I mean,
It's not a real
I'm
study.
not a psychologist, so I can't spitball all the
You're a
names.
scientist. It's close enough.
Engineer, we're closer towards that. But what we're working towards is opening up real continuous EEG data, and then that's gonna open up more possibilities in the study and be like, okay, we actually track someone for 8 hours consistently. This is real data. It's not extrapolated. What inferences we can make from that? So right now, that's not very present, because the biggest ones, no one's gonna wear that on their day-to-day, even the current smallest ones.
So, okay, just to wrap up the AI stuff, I want to get back to the physical.
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing you say is there are okay data sets
Yes, there is.
that rhyme but aren't necessarily what you need.
Yeah.
That allow you at least to show
That
to
there's-
capture the moment
there's
in time
proof.
you need to do the right kind of things.
Yes.
And then I imagine in a user interface in an app somewhere, the person will be like, "Hey, dude, you get a notification like you're gonna want to smoke now. Do these
so
things."
So the idea
Right?
is, yes. So to answer the question, yes, there's no exact data like what we want,
Close enough to.
but there's close enough to prove that, hey, this is possible. And there's one study that I remember, again, it was with nicotine. Most of the studies I've seen is with nicotine or alcohol, but most of nicotine. They said that, I think it was like 108 men participants, and they were able to physically track that this spike in this wave was more prevalent in the people that did end up relapsing
Right.
than the people that didn't. So there's
Got it.
proof, and EEG is the most, studied non-invasive way to collect brain data.
Right.
So there's a lot there to play around with.
So you've got the. So get it, and are you thinking just? I want to get again back to the physical. What is the thing that you're going to do to tell the person that a bad thing is going to happen? They're going to want to smoke.
Okay.
Is it going to be a push notification on their phone?
Yeah. So
Are you going to electrocute them?
Well, you're not the first person to ask for that.
That was a
which-
joke.
Yeah.
I'm
well,
assuming.
Yeah. We're not trying to electrocute anyone.
Okay,
We're not
that's
trying to
good,
be
that's
like
good.
Pavlok,
Yes,
which is what everybody knows.
Yes.
And I looked into them, and I, no disrespect to them, but I still don't understand how it works. I think it's like a timed zap. that is correlated with your current habits today, but that changes, right? Especially if you're in a different space, that your environment can change and it affects your pattern. So I don't really know how they exactly work. And I don't think it's that effective. But no, we're not trying to electrocute anyone. How we do it is that we do a personality assessment. So with our app, right? And then with the physical data that we're collecting, we combine those two and say, okay, based on these spikes, and this person is this type of personality. Let's say they're more optimistic. They like more reinforcement. Like, hey, if you do this, you're this much more likely to get something done. And on the flip side, it's like, if you're negative, if you're more of like a, I'm trash or so on, it's like, hey, if you don't do this, you're gonna fail, right? And there are different people that are receptive to different kind of stuff, or maybe statistics. Where like, based on our readings,
just shame me, and then I will do whatever.
And
you want.
it's actually more prevalent.
That's how you
men.
got on the show. You just shamed me into being on the show. It worked.
Yeah, more, and it's mostly men that we've seen that want the negative,
that's good
you're
stuff.
gonna fail at this if you don't.
Okay.
While women are more like the positive enforcement, like the woman that you're trying to become. If you
So
keep doing
will you
this,
get a notification? Is that
so it's gonna prompt
Yeah.
and say like we're trying to work with a golden hour. That's just how far we want it to be able to do it. Anything beyond that, we just don't trust it as much because your brain is pretty dynamic and a lot of things can change within 2 hours. So our focus to get it in 1 hour. And one of the other caveats that we are taking advantage of is working memory. So how memory works and short-term memory is that the urge, let's say you're passing by the beer store or something, is gonna put that thought into your brain. It's gonna cause a spike that our data is gonna collect, and then say, we once we detect that, we bring up something that's more positive that you like. Like, who doesn't like a Porsche 911? So let's say you like news or ads about it. We're gonna push that so that now your working memory, your short-term memory, has been shifted towards something that gets your mind off of it. So that's one of the other things that we're taking advantage of. That we want to incorporate.
And then very, very quickly, the physical device or the EEG thing.
Yeah.
What will that manifest itself as? Like, how you just staple it to your head? How does it collect the data? What are you envisaging the physical part, the collection?
So as a physical part, the materials that we're trying to use is something that anybody with glasses or a headband, like when we did our first customer discovery, 70% around that are okay or already use glasses or a headband. 30% of people want something that's standalone, which, that's maybe a version 2. We don't know how we're gonna, and they also want it to not be present. Like,
I was just thinking, I'm like,
so
you surveyed people in the 1980s and they want headbands. That's how I see it.
I mean, well, they like, the professional headbands that women wear.
Yeah, I know. I'm being silly. As someone with no hair, I have no reference point.
That's, I mean, you can still wear it if you want.
No, you look like a murderer if you do that.
But yeah, so it would be a very small thing that can be attached. We're trying to move towards semi-contact because there's a lot of movement that happens with stationary EEGs, which creates a lot of noise. So the nature of the material that we're using, and I can say this part is PDMS. It's the Biomem's holy grail. We've seen a lot of people make different forms of EEGs.
Right.
So it's a core component of how we're trying to build out our device. And then
what you showed me before we talked was like, it looks basically like almost like on a substrate. It's a sticker type of object. You would attach it.
Yeah. So you would.
It's not very big, like a thing.
No,
it's
like,
very thin.
It's very thin. It would kind of clip onto most frames.
Yeah.
Or like the headband, and it has to be a glasses or something because it needs to cover this specific area that's for prefrontal cortex, so decision making. So that's essentially what it would look like. We're still playing around with the exact length and diameter of it, based on like, is it something that we're gonna be custom, or is it gonna be one standard version that how many people can use it that way? Great. If not, they'll have to buy one of another type of glasses or something. But
so two last questions.
Go for it.
One is like you're actually creating a physical
device
technology, like a physical device.
Yes, there's a hardware component.
And you're also creating software, and you also are building AI data sets, using and building more AI data sets. It's a lot of work.
Yes.
Are you trying to raise money? Do you need a lot of money because it takes a lot of time to build a thing like this? Or is it like you just take a credit card out and just don't pay it back? Like,
I wish I had a credit card like that. But you know what?
MX Platinum has no limits, and they don't sponsor.
It's like, the golden cards that some people have. There's just no limit to it. So if anybody that's has a card like that, you really believe in this technology, I'm right here, Joshua Little. You can find me in Toronto. I can give you my address later. But we know that we will need to raise money.
Yeah.
But we also believe that we can raise a significant amount non-dilutively. We are planning to compete in the Hulks competition 2026, which is, a social impact. Because this is a social impact. We're trying to make people live their most fulfilling lives through habits.
Okay.
Our SDGs are 3 and 10, which is inequalities and well-being for all.
Sustainable development goals. For those.
Yeah, you're right. I'm
Aren't
acronym
nerds.
deficient, so I shouldn't use acronyms.
That's
But
just
yeah, those are our focus. So we'll be competing, God's willing, by the grace of the Lord. Like, we can win. That's $1 million there. And yes, it's hard, but why not go for it? And we do think there's a lot of non-dilutive money to go around.
Okay.
And then eventually, when we get to a certain part, Alain Lau, founder of Wattpad, spoke to him about it. He was interested. I told him I do want to get to a certain place without investment. And it's also de-risking it for people like him. So, maybe around $2 million non-dilutive. We think we can get that.
Okay.
And then...
And I guess the last question is, as we wrap up, I'm going to say that again because I looked at my watch. The last question as we wrap up is, what's hard? So you're building something that is novel. Like, it is hard to make what you're doing.
Yes.
Like, I can't do it. At least not this week. Maybe AI will do it. Anyway.
Well, they'll have to compete against our AI.
Yeah. That's the future. AIs, angry AIs. You've got like a technology you want to build. So it's a complicated stack. There's physical technology. There's a data set problem that you have to solve. And you've got to figure out what actually engenders the behavior change.
Yeah.
Maybe the push notification works with Porsches. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you need 7 push notifications. Who knows? How are you thinking about how to bring this to, and you don't even know how will people use it? Will they only want it on headbands? Maybe it will be on glasses. How are you thinking about going to market with this thing in a way that de-risks it so that you can actually really test this without having to spend $2 million and you're like, actually nobody wants to wear a headband?
Okay, so we've spoken to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And one of the problems I had early on in my entrepreneurial journey is that I wouldn't take people's contacts.
Okay.
And so, we just started doing it more.
Yeah.
We have over 100 people that want to test it. And just since yesterday and today, I think we've got 20 people who want to test it.
Is it testable or not testable?
No, when we do when we do create it, find it to test it.
Yeah.
And so that's where, to answer the second part about the data set, the more people that test it, as in wear it continuously, will improve the amount of data that we have to work with, which will then improve the AI that we're going to be building.
Right.
So that's the all-encompassing thing. And for the go-to-market strategy, well, right now, one of the things that we really capsulate on is this idea of next time. Next time I'll put down the cigarette. Next time I'll go to the gym. Next time. So our slogan is, this time, let's do it mindfully. Right. And a lot of people gravitated towards that because days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years when you keep saying next time. And so that's how we're gonna send it to the world, and we'll play around and see what people want. God's willing, it works really well.
If I might offer something to take it or leave it, I think like what you're building is a complicated set of there's the technology that's complicated, and then there's the behavior change that's complicated.
The what part?
The behavior change is complicated.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the behavior change that your tool engenders. I'm talking about like, what will actually, I'm not sure, like when I say go to market, I don't just mean sales. I actually mean like, how do you get people to use your product?
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting for you is that like, you don't need to build the whole damn thing to see whether people are going to be moved by a Porsche.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't know that that's going to work. It might detect the EEG perfectly.
Yeah.
And might exactly tell you when it's going to be, but you might find it's not a push notification.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a phone call.
Yeah. So that's what there's several other things. So it's like, if this isn't working, you can connect it to.
But I'm saying you don't have to wait until you've built the whole damn thing
to figure out what people like most.
To see each piece of the puzzle, I think. Because building the technology and figuring out how to get it to work.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, okay? There was when I was living in New York, there was a pet technology meetup that I went to.
Yeah.
And the pet technology meetup, I was like, what the fuck is a pet technology meetup? I'm going to go to it. And the speaker at the pet technology meetup was a guy who had a company called Whistle. The company still exists.
Yeah.
It was a Fitbit for dogs.
Cool.
You put it around their neck and you're like, who the hell needs a Fitbit for dog? My dog is fat. I don't need a Fitbit for dogs. And it was, I don't know, $150. And this was about like when IoT was cool. You could make stuff cheaply, and there's Raspberry Pis and 3D printers were new. and they didn't get product market fit. They just didn't. No one was really buying it. Do you know how they got product market fit?
How?
Guess.
Dog shows?
No,
Oh.
no. It actually was people would pay dog walkers like $50 or $100 to walk their dogs.
Yeah.
And they didn't know if they walked their dogs.
Or like the stage.
So, but if they had the Fitbit for dogs on, the whistle, they would know whether the dog was walked or not. So that has nothing to do with what the founders thought the company was.
Yeah.
But they built this whole piece of hardware and the whole thing, and the use case they thought it was for had nothing to do with where they actually found the customers. Then they got bought by Purina
Oh, cool.
based on that product market fit. So what I'm thinking for you is, not that you asked, but I'm telling you what I think.
Hey,
is,
many advisors are good.
Keep building the actual detection product, but all the other stuff that comes around it, can you simulate? Like, is it a time of day if you're a smoker and it's at lunchtime, people smoke around lunch? Can you build
Prompt.
that notification
Yeah.
or whatever it is that you think will remind them that the behavior changes to happen, and figure out what is the methodology? So when the physical technology is ready, you're not like, oh, fuck, that's a product problem.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the sales problem, which is
Yeah.
a different kind of problem. But I think that there's a lot of risk around all of those things.
That's true.
And can you de-risk that process so
As
you don't
much
have to big bang it, because it's not going to work in a big bang way.
That's fair.
Does that make sense?
I get that. I mean, I definitely, one of the things I wanted to do is like a call system where, AI, we call it
Sure.
an army of individuals where when people, what I've done for myself is that I have a group of guys that if I feel like I'm not going to be accountable, I just call that group and whoever answers
Right.
can be like, talk me out of it.
It's like an Alcoholics Anonymous
Yeah,
kind of
something like that,
idea.
right?
Yeah.
But even if, let's say all else fails, what we're trying to open up is continuous EEG monitoring. So
Right.
this can be sold to people who are studying Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
epilepsy. So there's still a lot of potential to license it to others. So, but I definitely want to focus on habits, and I'll try my best to figure out how that works as
Anyway,
well.
that's really fascinating. Well, thanks for me. If people want to find out more about your company, where do they go on the internet?
Well, they would have to go onto my LinkedIn right now.
Okay.
Because we kind of trying to rework the website.
Okay.
It's still up. It's just mindfully, and we're using Vercel. It's like that's the front end, and there's a
Well, by the time this comes out, it'll be up. So what's the URL? Do you have the URL? Or no? Not yet. All right.
So just find me, Joshua Little. I'm a handsome guy on LinkedIn. You can't miss it. But yeah,
Right.
eventually we'll have it there.
Thank
in
you
the
for
thing as well.
taking the time, Josh.
Thank
I
you for
appreciate it.
giving me the
Yeah,
opportunity.
Great to see you, man.
Yes,
Thank you.
sir. All right.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my newsletter in the description below, and see you next time.